thrive. You don't go into a Black neighborhood without seeing Asian businesses or restaurants or liquor store owners, and vice versa. You don't go into Asian neighborhoods without seeing Black customers and Black clients that keep our businesses alive. And so with this rise of these attacks, what I'm hearing in the circles of my community, from my phone calls, from different Asian entrepreneurs and business owners, is we've got to increase the policing against Black people. We've got to now watch out for Black people. We've got to, whether it requires more security or maybe protecting more of the goods. I have a hair shop owner who says, now I think I have to go put all of my Black bundles of hair products and weaves back inside of plastic containers and lock them down. And I'm like, no, that's not the answer.
And when they, there were community leaders that started going, and I know like in Detroit and in Compton, and started working with the Asian communities and saying, hey, you guys have all these businesses, why don't you start employing some Black people? The issue is that we don't, this is the reason why on this show we keep saying we need to have culture studies in schools so that people understand how different cultures act. For some Asian people that, moved here in the 70s, they never got an introduction to Black people. You know how they find out about Black people? On the news. And you know what? Most of the times on the news about Black people?
Right.
Negative stuff.
Crime.
So it's in their psyche that all Black people are robbers and they steal and they're this and
Peace, family. Vicki Dillard here, and I'm so pleased to be a contributor here on African Diaspora News Channel. Please make sure that you like, that you share, and that you subscribe to this amazing network. Thank you so very much. Okay, without further ado, I have to talk about this. Now, this little struggle show called The Real, and the reason why I call it the struggle show is because they have to discuss the most incendiary things, and they hired the most clueless people in order to get a splash, because everybody likes to watch a train wreck. So The Real's Loni Love, who's totally a member of LOM, and Jeannie Mai, they're something else. Now, I'm tired of Jeannie Mai's little funny looking self, because she keeps coming out here making a whole bunch of libelous statements about Black people as it relates to us and our interactions with Asian community. Now let's start this brief war briefing with the proper framework and perspective. Who are the most empathetic and sympathetic people on the planet? What group of people are the only group of people that walk around in the midst of their tormentors and not put a hand on them? What group of people are the ones that after a white supremacist shoots up your church and murders 9 of your Black parishioners at Mother Emanuel AME Church, turns around and tells them, we forgive you? Which group may have lost a son or a daughter with their hands up and a racist race soldier murders them, and the mother and the father come out there, as long as they get that settlement, talking about we can forgive the police officer, all they need is some training? Why am I bringing this up? Because our love for our open enemy and our ability to forgive proves that we're the most sympathetic and empathetic people on the planet. So when somebody tries to lie and push propaganda that Black folk are somehow racist, or Black folk somehow don't appreciate or don't like a certain intersectional group or another group of people like Asian community, we take great offense at that, because you all know you lying. Now, you all know that when the pandemic started, it was white supremacist Donald Trump, and all of his lackeys that was calling the virus the Wuhan virus. Trump and other white supremacists are the one that labeled it that in the first place. But you're not seeing large groups come out really upset, specifically with white people for doing that. No, the hate and the anger has now turned on Black people. Now you're seeing on ABC, NBC, CBS, And your president, Jim Crow Joe, the other day, just did a press conference, prime time, and he said, even in that prime time speech where he was supposed to be talking about the virus, he said about how the Asian communities are unnecessarily being attacked and all this other kind of stuff, and it must stop. You are seeing this concerted effort by all major white corporate outlets, cable and otherwise, pushing this narrative that somehow the Asian community is being attacked. Watch this, not mostly about white people for white supremacy from them, but they're trying to give the impression that the black community somehow is targeting them, and that is just not true. Now, mind you, we have story after story after story after story. Shout out to African Diaspora News Channel. Brother Phillip does an amazing job showing you numerous stories of black women and black people being shot, murdered, disrespected, exploited, beat up, manipulated out of their monies, their bodies, attacked, because all different types of members from the Asian community, from whether it's a salon, whether it's a gas station, whether it's a grocery store, whether it's a beauty shop, we're finding that time and time and time again, we've been attacked, we've been murdered, we've been hurt, and nobody is labeling that as a hate crime, and nobody is using their presidential primetime address to tell folk that the anti-black hate must stop. I'm telling you, there's a reason for that. You all know, just like I do, a lot of the Asians that I'm aware of have actually come out a long time ago and said they really either don't believe in white supremacy or racism that much. And some of them even speak down to us after we've built this country. They come here to experience the American dream, but all kind of people groups come here and try to talk crazy to us. You're here trying to enjoy the American dream based on our black nightmare. And some of you that often come from other countries to America, you come over here shaking and wagging your little finger in our face. And I'm sad to say it, but some of our African brothers and sisters do the same thing. You guys call us Akatas and all kind of other racist names in all these different people groups. And you try to tell us why it is that we're not successful in America. As if we should be taking your advice, because too often you all flee your countries and leave them in shambles and want to come here and give us advice when you should be taking your own advice where you was coming from. But I digress. But a lot of members of the Asian community don't even believe in white supremacy like that. So you must ask yourself, why all of a sudden at the same time are we seeing this big push? A couple of reasons. Number one, I believe it has to do with the power of us economically boycotting and beginning to bankrupt those communities that have been predatory and abusive and exploitative against us. You're hearing time and time again where we are successfully shutting down nail salons that beat black women and grandmothers across the head with sticks and brooms. Asian men that choke the life out of or tackle a black woman on the floor, pin her to the ground and start beating her in the face. You are finding that we're becoming little bit by little bit more and more successful, and we're getting more media attention on how it is unacceptable, how we're being treated, and how we're shutting down these different stores. I believe because of that, based on information and belief, what I've been hearing is that this bothers them because they know that it's starting to catch on like wildfire, and more blacks are starting. Number two, because of this virus, black folks disproportionately support Chinese restaurants. We disproportionately support their gas stations. We disproportionately support their nail salons. We disproportionately support their beauty salons. We disproportionately support their stores and other such things. Because of the pandemic, they're seeing the power of the black purse was pulled back. So because, number one, they're fearful that we're starting to call them out for exploiting us and being bloodsuckers of the black poor. And two, because they see that some of their businesses are experiencing difficulty because of the virus. Some, not all. Enough of them in those communities. This is what I'm hearing. are trying to set the atmosphere to press the lawmakers to give them economic business grants and to get them a bag. In other words, some have told me that this is a concerted effort by some members in their community to create this perception that they're under attack. And they throw black folk under the bus by acting like we're the main targets of them. And the reason they do that is because they don't want to tick off the white supremacists, because that's who they're appealing to through Congress to give them money. And the only way that your white Democrats and your white Republicans can justify adding that onto a bill, money specifically allocated to the Asian communities, is by first making them appear to be under attack, make them appear to be victims. I'm not saying that none of them ever have not been attacked before, but I'm saying this perception that somehow black folks have them under attack makes it more likely that white folks who are Congress and folks and lawmakers will give them the bag because they're not 100% blaming white folk for it. You got to be wise. You're hearing it from your sister first. But baby, we're not going to be your fall guy. Some of our black elders have told us over and over again that we have no friends. We're seeing that more and more and more. We haven't gotten reparations, but Japanese folks that were interned, not raped, not enslaved, but they were moved to a different area to live in after Pearl Harbor. Their descendants got at least $20,000 in reparations. And we're still begging for it. Make that make sense. Pay attention to the finesse. But we will not be replaced. Make that our new hashtag. We will not be replaced. And we will not stop fighting for economic justice and black empowerment. And we do that by, number one, continuing to build our own businesses, supporting our own business, teaching our own babies, doing business, if possible, and as much as possible with the black diaspora. That's on the one hand. But there's nothing wrong with the other hand, demanding reparations and justice for black folk in America and, yes, around the world. We're not going to give up. My name is Vicki Dillard, and thank you so much for tuning in to my brief war briefing right here on African Diaspora News Channel. Again, make sure that you connect with me. Join my weekly mastermind at clubvicki.com. I have an amazing Saturday, March 20th, 2 p.m. for all my ladies. Some of y'all are getting your stimulus checks, so let me stimulate your spirit and you invest in yourself with your stimulus check for a very reasonable rate. I'm going to be talking about the secret money in your womb, part 2. You are the ATM. You don't want to miss it. There are two. Go to clubvicki.com and you join clubvicki.com. That's my weekly mastermind. You can join it for $1 and get automatic access. Also, you go to my Instagram page. You can find another way that you can tune in as well, but just by paying the fee up front without joining my clubvicki.com. So go to my Instagram page at Vicki X Dillard and look for my post for that. Vicki X Dillard. Vicki X Dillard. That's VICKI X Dillard. Thank you so very much.